So LISC is Local Initiative Support Corporation, and we are a national community development organization. We've been around for over 40 years now. We are celebrating our 40th anniversary at the national level, but in Cincinnati we've been for over 10 years. And as a national community development organization, our work is around comprehensive community development. And locally for us, that means supporting affordable housing, supporting economic development, and also Place Matters. Place Matters is our place-based work, our neighborhood level work. So these are the three main programs that we do in Cincinnati. And we're also a CDFI, which means Community Development Financial Institution. And that means that we can lend to community organizations and to entities that sometimes it is harder for traditional financial institutions to lend to. In our affordable housing role, what we try to do is convene stakeholders in our local area to increase the support for affordable housing. We try to support policy efforts, and we also try to build the capacity of our local partners, that be either community development corporations or other nonprofit partners in our area. We try to build their capacity so that they can manage affordable housing. Lastly, as Garrido mentioned, we also try to support housing strategies at the neighborhood level. So in the neighborhoods that we work with, we try to provide technical assistance for housing strategies. And finally, we also have LISC financial resources, as I mentioned, that we are CDFI, to support affordable housing projects with funding. So today I'm going to talk about affordable housing and what that journey has looked like for us in the past year and what our work in Cincinnati has looked like around affordable housing. So for us, when we mean affordable housing, we're talking about basically a home base. So we're talking about an affordable home that can provide financial stability, health, education, job retention, and social capital. There is a very strong correlation between the lack of affordable housing and social problems like poverty, homelessness, and health disparity. So this is what we talk about, this is what we mean when we mean affordable housing, and we're talking about homes that are affordable for the residents in our area. When we talk about our context, I think it is important for us to know where we're going so that we can plan ahead for our housing needs. And this means understanding better what our context looks like now, but also what it's going to look like. So by 2030, at the state level, we would have a 0.87% increase in population, and at the national level of the United States, we'll have a 16% increase. Hamilton County will have an 8% increase, as well as Cincinnati, while Columbus is the fastest growing city in the state, will have a 22% increase, and Cleveland is decreasing in some areas. So it is important for us to know where we're going and how we're growing so that we can best cater to those needs. So when we're talking about affordable housing, as Bill mentioned, the way that we started inserting ourselves into the affordable housing field locally was by commissioning a study that we did with our partners from the Community Building Institute that talked about housing affordability in Hamilton County. When we released this study in 2017, we realized that we had a 40,000 unit gap at the county level of affordable units. So that means that we have a lack of affordable units, and with that we mean household incomes that are paying over 30% of their household income for housing. So this is important for us because, and I have some copies of this study, you could also access the study through this link, because not only are our subsidized units decreasing, but also the subsidy from the federal level is also decreasing. So how can we address this increasing gap with decreasing subsidy, and the overall availability of affordable housing has just not been able to keep the pace with the poverty rates in our region. So this is something that we need to look at also, because the lowest income levels are the ones that experience the largest gaps and the ones that are the most cost burden, and we will see that going forward. So this is the cost burden data that we have, and as we talk about it, we can see that cost burden, meaning that they pay more than 30% of their household income, It means that if you're paying more than 30% of your household income towards housing, you have less of that income for your basic needs. So you have less of that income for food, you have less of that income for health services, and you are paying more than you can for your housing needs. Extremely cost burden means that you're paying more than 50% of your income, so this is a severely impacted segment of our population. When we also break this down, we see that seniors and families are about half of the extreme low income segment in our residents, in our area. So if we're thinking about who is being disproportionately affected by this, it is definitely seniors, it is definitely families, but then if we also go through the lens of racial equity, Black households are also being severely affected and impacted by this in a disproportionate way compared to white households. So if we're looking at this and we're trying to figure out what could be most impactful as we try to address this, we definitely need to keep families, seniors, and Black households at the top of the list. So when we talk about housing in our area, I think it's also important to point home ownership and owner occupancy. So 52% of owner-occupied housing are at the county level, while 37.7% are at the city level. And then we have a neighborhood, we break it down by neighborhood. So the neighborhoods that have over 60% ownership, and the neighborhoods that have less than 50% home ownership. So you can see those neighborhoods here. And then as we compare this to other cities in the state, Columbus is at a 44% owner occupancy, Cleveland is at a 40%, and at the state level, it's a 60%, and at the national level, 56%. If we then also apply the racial equity lens to this conversation, 82% of the owner-occupied households in our city are white, while 14 are Black. On top of this, 11,807 Cincinnatians experienced homelessness in 2015. And we have had 12,439 evictions that were filed between 2014 and 2017. And 8.7% of those were owner-occupied units, renter-occupied units.
Wow.
So we then look at the housing gap and vacancy. This will, in a way, lead us to how we got to 100% housing. So the affordable housing study told us that we were about 40,000 units short of affordable units that were available. And then that same study revealed that we were 47,956 vacant units at the county level. So in a way, this seems like a natural match. How can we match the deficit that we have to the vacant units that we have? So this is what 100% housing set out to find. We have also had a 10% increase in vacant units since 2010, and Hamilton County is has the 16th highest vacancy rate for Ohio counties, which is a 13.8%. So this is how we got to 100% housing. So trying to match our region's vacant units to the housing deficit, the initiative brought together relevant stakeholders to explore the possibilities for Greater Cincinnati to create a coordinated housing strategy to repurpose vacant units to help bridge our housing gap. So the way that we did this was that early last year, and prompted by the relationships that we were able to build after releasing the study, we were able to bring 70 members representing 40 organizations to a room. And this we did in partnership with the Urban Land Institute. So ULI was able to bring in their members, and we were able to bring in our partners and our stakeholders. And together, this huge group, as you can imagine, we had to divvy it up a little bit to try and work together in the most efficient way possible. So we got a portfolio team that were supposed to document this available inventory and figure out what those 47,000 units really look like. And then we had a planning team that was trying to figure out, with the inventory that we had, how can we then find real estate solutions to this problem? So we started this endeavor last year over the summer. We got the data sets from the Greater Cincinnati Waterworks Shut-Off. We got USPS vacancy data. We got City of Cincinnati vacant building maintenance license data. And we also got building permits data. So with all these 4 data sets, we were able to combine those, and through Loveland Technologies, which is a mapping platform, we were able to upload these 4 data sets into a map, and the data sets that, and the parcels that had all the 3 data sets told us that they were very likely to be vacant. If you had water shut up, you had USPS vacancy, you were flagged for USPS vacancy, and also flagged from the City of Cincinnati vacant building maintenance license and building permits, it was very likely that if you could check those 3 indicators for a property, that it was vacant. But we had to set out to see if that was really the case, 1, and 2, what was the conditions of those buildings. So we did an exterior field survey to confirm vacancy and collect basic conditions data with 4 surveyors that worked full-time for 12 weeks over the summer of 2018. We used the Lovely Technology platform on tablets, and they set out around the city and the county to survey. We got grant support from JPMorgan Chase, and we were able to survey and complete the survey period over the summer, and then share some data in the fall of last year. And these are our main findings. So we surveyed 10,514 parcels. Out of those, actually 6,536 were really vacant. So that already tells us that our assumptions and the parcels that were presumed vacant, some of them were not. And if you break this down, out of this 6,536 that were actually vacant, 4,183, meaning 64%, had unoccupied buildings on the parcel, while 36% of those were vacant lots. So if we break this down even further, we see that 61% of the unoccupied building stock were single-family homes. These homes were mostly in good conditions. And then a minority of this unoccupied buildings were multifamily. And these were also fairly in good conditions. So this is how we see, this is what Loveland looks like. This is the platform that we used. And you see how this looks like at the city and at the county level. So at the city level, you can see the concentration of dots. And these dots mean, the pink ones mean that those were unoccupied buildings, the green ones mean that those were vacant lots, and the blue ones mean other, which means that they could have been possibly occupied or partially occupied. So this is how we were able to survey. 5,161 of the surveyed parcels were in the city of Cincinnati, while 1,352 were from Hamilton County. As you can expect, we were not able to survey that county completely. So this is where we relied on our partners from Hamilton County to point us in the right direction of what were the priority areas in the county that we should survey and that we should address. So we specifically focused on areas that were priority for the county, that they were already doing work on, and that this data could hopefully provide some useful insights. And this is how we summarize the data by neighborhood. In Cincinnati, these are the neighborhoods that have the majority of vacancy. You can see that Over the Rhine has the most multifamily, and then you can see that East Price Hill has the most vacant lots, and then you can see that single family